but I need a nuclear reaction to generate the 1.21 gigawatts of electricity.
1.21 gigawatts! 1.21 gigawatts!
Welcome back to Retro Celeb Talk. Today, we are definitely buckling up. We're diving deep into maybe the greatest time travel movie ever made.
Oh, absolutely. A true classic.
We're not just going back to 1985 in spirit. We're actually going rewind the making of Back to the Future. We're talking production secrets, huge risks, and just, the sheer genius behind it. This film we all love, it almost didn't happen this way. It could have been, well, much darker.
That's so true. And for you listening, we've dug into like the really intense origins of the story. It started small, surprisingly personal.
Right, like with a yearbook.
Exactly, a high school yearbook.
Yeah.
And then there were these massive creative gambles. We're talking about a $4 million casting decision that basically changed everything.
A fortune back then.
Huge. And we'll get into why the DeLorean, specifically the stainless steel, was actually part of the movie's science.
And the 1.21 gigawatts.
Oh, yeah. How Christopher Lloyd basically made that the most famous technical number ever.
It's just this perfect mix, isn't it? Sci-fi, comedy, pure 80s charm. We're going deep into Hill Valley today, behind the scenes. Why it still works so well.
It really holds up.
So get ready to rewind. You might rethink a few things you thought you knew about this one. Okay, so let's start at the beginning, the actual origin. Where did this whole idea come from? Because the core concept, Marty, going back in time, it feels surprisingly grounded.
It is. And that's the key, I think. It didn't start with some, big sci-fi concept meeting. It started with writer Bob Gale.
Right.
His visiting his parents, found his dad's old high school yearbook. And looking at his dad as a teenager, he just had this thought.
Yeah.
Would we have been friends? Like, if I met my dad back then, would we have clicked?
Wow. That's really relatable.
Totally. And that simple personal question became the bedrock for Marty's whole journey. Meeting his parents, not his parents, but as, kind of awkward teenagers themselves.
And Robert Zemeckis, the director, he brought his own stuff to it too, right?
Yeah, exactly. Zemeckis apparently had these experiences with his mom telling stories about her youth, and sometimes the stories didn't quite line up.
Yeah, I think we all know that feeling. Memory is a funny thing.
Right. So you had Gale's specific, would we be friends? Question mixed with Zemeckis thinking about how memory gets kind of warped or, polished over time.
So it wasn't just about the cool time machine.
Not at all. Their main goal, it seems, was really about telling a human story. That universal moment when you suddenly realize your parents weren't always your parents.
That they had lives, crushes, made mistakes.
Exactly. Before they were just mom and dad. That emotional core, that's what makes it stick, I think.
Yeah.
It lets the sci-fi stuff land better because you care about the people.
And they kind of broke a big time travel rule too, didn't they? Usually it's like, don't touch anything.
Right. The past is fixed. Whatever you do doesn't matter. But
Here, everything Marty does has consequences. Massive ones.
Yeah, the whole plot runs on that. The tension, the humor, it all comes from these small actions causing huge ripple effects. He's literally erasing himself.
That's such a clever way to raise the stakes.
It really is. They leaned into the idea that, bumping into someone, saying the wrong thing could change everything.
Yeah.
Makes the timeline feel fragile, makes you invested. It felt fresh.
Okay, so they had this great core idea, but the script itself, it wasn't always the light, fun adventure we know, was it? It went through changes.
Oh, big time. They started writing way back in late 1980, and the early versions. Kind of unrecognizable.
How so?
Well, the most surprising thing is how dark one early concept was. It focused way more on, family drama.
Really?
Yeah. In that version, Marty's mom, Lorraine, she wasn't just the teen with a crush. She was apparently written as, the main antagonist.
Whoa, the antagonist, his mom.
Can you imagine? It created this really tense, complicated relationship after Marty messes up their first meeting. It sounds like it would have been much heavier.
So instead of got to get my parents together, it's got to deal with my antagonistic mom. That's a totally different movie.
Completely. Much more about intense family conflict, maybe even some uncomfortable Oedipal vibes, rather than the adventure comedy it became.
So why did they pull back from that? It sounds intense, maybe interesting, but definitely darker.
Well, I think they realized that leaning too hard into that kind of domestic drama, maybe even tragedy, would have undermined what they wanted it to be.
Which is more fun, right? More accessible.
Exactly. They made a conscious choice to shift towards a lighter, funnier, more optimistic tone. Blending the sci-fi with relatable family comedy, that was the key. They figured probably correctly, that it would have much broader appeal.
And that balance is perfect. The humor makes the stakes feel real, but not, depressing.
Right. That's what made it work for everyone and why it's still so loved.
Okay, so the script evolution is fascinating, but it kind of pales next to the drama that happened during filming. We're talking about maybe the biggest gamble in 80s movies?
Oh, the casting change. Yeah, this is legendary stuff.
Firing your lead actor weeks into shooting, unheard of.
Almost. And it all started because their first choice, Michael J. Fox, just wasn't available. Universal wanted him badly for Marty McFly.
But he was doing Family Ties, right? Huge show.
Massive. So he was locked in. They went with Eric Stoltz instead, a really respected actor known for more dramatic stuff.
So Stoltz is Marty, they're filming, money's being spent, millions, and then what? Zemeckis just gets a bad feeling.
Pretty much. After about 5 weeks of shooting, Zemeckis, Bob Gale, Spielberg, they looked at the footage and realized something was fundamentally off.
Off how?
Stoltz's approach. He was playing it very intensely, very dramatically. He was using method acting techniques.
I heard he insisted people call him Marty on set.
Yeah, apparently so. Which is fine for some roles, but here, it just wasn't landing. It was making Marty's situation feel tragic, not comedic. It was sucking the fun out of it.
So the tone was just wrong. It wasn't the light, adventurous comedy they wrote.
Exactly.
Yeah.
It wasn't capturing that clever, slightly clumsy, energetic vibe they needed. Zemeckis later said firing Stoltz was the hardest meeting he ever had. Personally difficult.
You bet.
But he knew it was the only way to get the movie back on track tonally.
It's still amazing the studio went for it. Sidney Sheinberg at Universal.
Yeah.
Letting them just scrap 5 weeks of footage.
Yeah.
And spend millions more.
It's incredible, yeah. But Sheinberg apparently saw the dailies and agreed. He saw the problem. He took a massive gamble, basically betting that fixing this core issue, the lead actor, was essential for the film to be a hit.
And the cost was, what was it again?
$4 million.
Yeah.
Added directly to the budget just for the reshoots and recasting.
Yeah.
In 1985 money, that's just astronomical. A potential studio killer if it went wrong.
But they managed to get Fox. How did they even make that work with his Family Ties schedule?
It was absolutely brutal for Fox. They worked out this insane deal. He'd film the sitcom all day like a normal job.
Right.
And then he'd immediately go to the Back to the Future set and film all night, sometimes finishing at like 5 a.m. Then grab a few hours sleep and be back on the sitcom set. He was basically running on fumes for months.
That's dedication. But you see it on screen, right? His energy, his timing. It's perfect.
It is, that natural comedic timing he'd honed on TV, that charm, that sort of relatable panic. It just clicked. He made Marty feel real, funny, and someone you root for instantly.
The difference must have been night and day compared to the Stoltz footage.
Totally. Fox brought this lightness, this almost frantic energy that fit the crazy situation. Stoltz apparently anchored it too much in serious reality. Though, reports say Fox and Stoltz met later and were totally professional about it. It was a tough decision, but the right one for the film.
Okay, so Marty is sorted, but you can't have Marty without Doc Brown, Christopher Lloyd. Great Scott. Where did that character come from? He's so out there.
He really is, and Doc Brown was pretty carefully crafted. Lloyd definitely pulled from some classic inspiration.
By Einstein, obviously. The hair.
Oh yeah, Einstein's a big one, that visual of the wild hair, the kind of detached genius vibe. But there's another key influence people don't always mention.
Who's that?
Leopold Stokowski, the famous orchestra conductor.
Stokowski. Really? Why him?
Apparently for his physical presence. Stokowski was known for being really flamboyant, energetic, kind of theatrical when conducting.
Ah, okay. I can see that now. Doc's big gestures, the wide eyes.
Exactly. That explains his physical energy, his constant excitement about everything, even when things are blowing up. Lloyd played him as this eternal optimist, always thrilled by discovery.
And that created such a great dynamic with Marty. Like this warm, slightly crazy mentor.
Perfectly. That unlikely friendship is really the heart of the whole series, isn't it?
Absolutely. Okay, so we've got the people sorted. Let's talk about the machine. The DeLorean DMC-12. It had to be cool. It had to look futuristic. Why that specific car?
Well, aesthetics were huge. They needed something that screamed, not from around here. Something unique.
And the DeLorean definitely fits that bill. Stainless steel. Those gull wing doors.
Exactly. It just looked like a spaceship landed on wheels. It felt high-tech and, frankly, a bit weird, which totally suited Doc Brown's whole vibe.
Was it just the look, though? Or were there other reasons?
Oh, practicality definitely played a part. The DeLorean Motor Company? Well, they weren't doing so great financially at the time.
Ah, so the cars were maybe cheaper, easier to get.
Relatively speaking, yeah. More affordable and available for the production. They apparently considered other wild ideas first.
Like what?
Zemeckis initially thought maybe a tank or even a refrigerator.
A refrigerator, seriously?
Yeah. But Spielberg apparently shot that down, worried kids might try locking themselves in fridges. Good call, probably.
Probably. So the studio wanted something recognizable but still different. And the DeLorean fit.
Perfectly.
Yeah.
And the genius part is how they wrote the car's look into the science.
Right, the stainless steel.
Yeah. Doc explains it's needed for flux dispersal when time traveling. It wasn't just cool looking, it was functional in the movie's world.
That's brilliant writing. Just makes it all feel more real.
And of course, it gave us the magic number, the speed you gotta hit.
88 miles per hour to activate the time circuits. Iconic.
Totally. And speaking of activating things, we gotta talk about the heart of the machine, the thing that makes it all possible.
The flux capacitor.
The flux capacitor, that Y-shaped thingy. Bob Gale just came up with the name, apparently. Just imagining, okay, what's the gadget that makes time travel happen? Let's call it a flux capacitor.
And the story behind Doc inventing it is amazing, too.
Oh, it was classic movie lore.
Yeah.
He came up with the idea on November 5th, 1955, the date on the clock, Tower Flyer, remember?
Yeah.
After slipping on his toilet while trying to hang a clock, hitting his head, and boom, inspiration strikes.
Yeah.
Literally a lightning strike moment, thematically speaking.
And the power needed to run this thing. It's not just plugging it into the wall, is it?
Not quite. It needs...
1.21 gigawatts.
Exactly. And Christopher Lloyd's delivery,
Mm-hmm.
that shocked, almost breathless way he says, gigawatts.
He made it instantly quotable.
Absolutely. It became pop culture shorthand for any insane amount of power needed for anything.
But just so you listening understand the scale, a gigawatt is a billion watts. So 1.21 billion watts, that's a lot.
It's immense. But what's really cool is, while it sounds totally made up, that number, it's actually surprisingly close to the peak power output of a real lightning bolt.
No way.
Yeah. Which, of course, is exactly what they end up using to send Marty back.
So it's grounded in a little bit of real physics. Scary physics, but still.
Yeah, this perfect soft sci-fi, right?
Yeah.
Makes the fantasy feel just a tiny bit plausible.
Yeah.
And showing all this on screen, the lightning, the car disappearing, that took some serious 80s visual effects work.
Mostly from ILM, Industrial Light and Magic.
Yeah, and they were under huge pressure because the release date got moved up after the recasting. They had to deliver top-notch stuff fast.
And compared to today's movies with thousands of CGI shots, Back to the Future didn't actually have that many effect shots, did it?
Relatively few, yeah.
Yeah.
So somewhere around like 27 to 32 key special effects shots in the whole movie.
But they were so memorable. So effective.
They really were. ILM used everything they had. Things like optical compositing.
Okay, break that down for us. What's optical compositing?
Basically, it's layering different pieces of film together. You film Marty, you film the background, maybe you film an effect like his hand fading.
Mm-hmm.
Then you use a special printer to combine all those negatives onto one final piece of film.
So it's all done physically with film.
Exactly. Very painstaking. That's how they did Marty's hand fading, or putting the fire trails behind the DeLorean. They also used motion control cameras.
Which let them repeat camera moves perfectly.
Precisely. So when they filmed the car, then filmed the effects elements like the fire or the lightning, the camera move was identical, allowing them to combine it seamlessly in post-production. It was tedious work, but that's why those effects still look pretty good today. They feel tangible.
And then for the sequel, part 2, they really pushed it with things like the hoverboard. That wasn't CGI, right?
No way, not really. That was almost all practical ingenuity, way before CGI was common, to make Marty look like he was gliding.
Yeah.
Michael J. Fox was basically hanging from wires.
Right.
Really complex harnesses and rigs.
So how did they hide the wires?
That was the hard part. Meticulous post-production work called rotoscoping. Artists literally had to go frame by frame
Oh, wow.
and hand pan out the wires and harnesses. Hundreds of frames for every shot. Insane amount of work.
Just incredible dedication to the illusion, making something impossible look real, practically.
Yeah. And speaking of making things look real, let's talk about some of those iconic scenes. The climax, the clock tower sequence. You picture this quaint little town square.
But it wasn't real, was it? Not a real town they filmed in?
Nope. All Hollywood magic. That was filmed on the Universal Studios backlot on a set called Courthouse Square. Still there today, mostly.
So they built Hill Valley.
Pretty much.
Yeah.
A big, detailed 1950s version of it. Using a soundstage environment gave them complete control.
For the storm effects. The lightning.
Exactly. They needed precise control over the weather, the lighting, the big electrical rigs for the lightning strike itself. Much safer and more reliable than trying to do it on location. The clock tower itself was a big facade built onto the existing courthouse set piece.
And in that scene, and throughout the 1955 stuff, you've got Leah Thompson playing Lorraine, Marty's mom. Her age is kind of surprising, right?
It really is. Leah Thompson was only 22 when they filmed it.
22, wow. And Michael J. Fox was 24. They were practically the same age.
Pretty much. So she had this huge task, play a believable, kind of naive 17-year-old girl in 1955, and play a sort of worn-down 47-year-old mom in 1985.
That's incredible range.
Definitely. Strong acting, for sure, but also a lot of help from the makeup and prosthetics teams to age her up convincingly for those 1985 scenes. Really impressive work.
And little details on that set, like the Save the Clock Tower flyers,
Yeah.
They were more than just props, weren't they?
Yeah, that was a clever touch. Obviously crucial for the plot, gives Marty the date. It's where Jennifer writes her number.
Right.
But they also used them during filming as, like, immersive marketing. Extras, dressed in 1985 clothes, would hand them out to people on the back lot, making the set feel more alive.
That's cool. Okay, next big set piece. The Enchantment Under the Sea dance.
Yeah.
Where Marty has to get his parents to kiss.
Right. That was apparently a really intense shoot. Took 5 whole days.
5 days for one scene.
Yeah, filmed inside the Hollywood United Methodist Church, actually. They went all out on authenticity. Elaborate choreography for the dancing, meticulous period costumes, the full skirts, the suits.
And the band, the Starlighters.
They had the actors playing them give really convincing live performances on set. Marvin Berry, the whole crew, it added to that authentic 50s feel.
And that authenticity leads right into Marty's big moment. The Johnny B. Good performance still gives me chills.
Me too. And Michael J. Fox really committed to that. He didn't actually play guitar before the movie, I don't think. But he worked intensively with the guitar coach, Paul Hansen, learning the fingerings, the Chuck Berry moves, so it looked totally convincing on camera. You really believe he's playing.
But the actual sound we hear isn't him.
Right, standard practice. While Fox performed it live on set, the final audio was dubbed. A singer named Mark Campbell did Marty's vocals. And a session guitarist named Tim May laid down that killer lead guitar track. So it's a combined effort, but Fox's physical performance absolutely sells it. He said it was one of his favorite things he filmed.
And Zemeckis filmed a lot of these key scenes, like the dance and the clock tower, at night, right? Was that just for mood?
Mostly, yeah. It was a deliberate choice. Gay Hill Valley, this timeless, almost dreamlike quality. Plus, practically, it helped hide any modern bits of the studio backlot that might accidentally show up in daylight. Easier to control the lighting and atmosphere.
Okay, we cannot talk about the McFly family without talking about George McFly. Crispin Glover, amazing performance in the first film.
Truly iconic, awkward, endearing. Perfect.
But famously, not in the sequels. And the story behind that is, well, it had huge repercussions, didn't it?
Oh, massive. This is a major Hollywood controversy with lasting impact. Glover refused to come back for part 2 and part 3.
Why? Was it just money?
Money was definitely part of it. Significant disagreements there.
Yeah.
But Glover also had major artistic objections. He really didn't like the ending of the first film.
The ending where they're all successful and have a nice truck.
Yeah. He felt it promoted materialism, basically saying money equals happiness instead of focusing on George's internal growth. He thought it sent the wrong message.
Wow. Taking a stand like that against a huge hit movie?
Yeah.
That takes guts.
It really does. So, combine the artistic disagreement with the financial dispute and clashes with the filmmakers, he just wasn't coming back. Which left Zemeckis and Gale with a big problem.
Because George McFly is kind of important for the sequel's plots, right? With the timeline changes.
Exactly. They needed the character, but didn't have the actor. So they resorted to some creative workarounds.
That's putting it mildly. What did they do?
Yeah. Well, they used archival footage of Glover from the first film wherever they could. And they hired another actor, Jeffrey Weissman.
To play George.
Yeah. But they put him in prosthetics, heavy makeup, tried to make him look as much like Glover as possible, and then they filmed him cleverly, often in the background, out of focus, in shadow.
Trying to hide the fact that it wasn't Glover.
Pretty much. But Glover saw this, saw them using his likeness, essentially, without his permission and without proper compensation, and he sued.
He sued Spielberg, Universal. That's huge.
Massive lawsuit. And it resulted in a landmark settlement. It basically changed industry rules.
How so?
The Screen Actors Guild agreement that came out of it established clear protections for actors. Studios can't just digitally recreate actors or use lookalikes wearing prosthetics to mimic them or use old footage to create a new performance without getting explicit permission and paying for it.
So the whole Crispin Glover controversy actually led to stronger rights for all actors regarding their image and likeness.
Exactly. A huge legal legacy came directly out of George McFly's absence from the sequels. So the film was a massive hit, obviously. And that enduring success wasn't just luck. It was this perfect storm of creativity, timing, and some key partnerships, like the music.
Oh, yeah. Huey Lewis and the News. You hear the power of love, you immediately think Back to the Future.
Inextricably linked. And that was intentional. The band wrote and performed that song specifically for the movie.
They approached the band.
Yeah. And they apparently gave them freedom. Like, you don't even have to mention the movie title. They trusted the vibe would connect. And boy, did it.
And then Huey Lewis himself pops up in the movie.
Best cameo. Playing the square band audition judge.
Telling Marty's band they're just too darn loud, which is hilarious coming from Huey Lewis.
Perfect meta humor.
Yeah.
And it worked out great for everyone. The Power of Love was the band's first #1 hit. Got Oscar and Grammy nominations. It's pure 80s audio nostalgia now, tied forever to the film.
But it wasn't just the music, right? The film itself just struck a chord.
It really did. I think that genre blend was key. It had the cool sci-fi ideas, but also really funny comedy, and that warm, fuzzy 1950s nostalgia.
Something for everyone, kinda.
Exactly. It appealed super broadly. Action fans, comedy fans, families. And it dealt with these big themes, identity, choices, destiny, but in a really witty, accessible way. It felt smart, but also just fun.
A proper adventure.
Yeah. A family adventure wrapped in a blockbuster sci-fi package. Of course, that success meant one thing.
Sequels.
Sequels had to happen, and they went for it. Part 2 in '89, Go into the Future, 2015, plus that dark alternate timeline.
Which was pretty ambitious.
Very. And then Part 3 in 1990, mixing sci-fi with a Western, going back to 1885.
And the whole trilogy is still seen as like one of the best, most tightly clotted trilogies ever, isn't it?
It really is.
Yeah.
Which speaks volumes about how strong that original idea and script from Zemeckis and Gale were and their vision for the whole story.
So when you tie it all together, the legacy is huge. Specific details like 1.21 gigawatts become cultural touchstones.
Right. And then major off-screen events like the Glover lawsuit actually change how Hollywood operates. It's fascinating how much impact this one film had, both on screen and off.
Which leads to a really interesting thought for you listening at home to chew on after this. We talked a lot about the fun, optimistic movie we got.
Yeah.
But what if they'd stuck with that early script, the darker one, where Lorraine, Marty's mom, was the antagonist?
Ooh, yeah. How different would that have been?
Completely. If the core relationship wasn't about bringing parents together, but about conflict with one of them, how would that have changed the whole feel, the legacy?
Would it still have been this beloved cross-generational classic? Or would it have been something maybe respected, but maybe more niche, less fun?
Hard to say, right. But it makes you appreciate the choices they made and the version we ended up with. A fascinating what if.
Well, that was quite a ride through Hill Valley history, wasn't it? We went from Bob Gale finding that yearbook to the absolute nail-biting necessity of getting Michael J. Fox, saving the film's comedic heart. And seeing how even things like the DeLorean's design, or that specific power number, or even a legal fight became part of its enduring magic.
The behind-the-scenes story is almost as wild as the movie itself. Thank you so much for joining us on this rewind through film history.
Yeah, it was great fun. And if you enjoyed digging into these secrets with us, please, do the usual stuff, like, subscribe, leave us a comment.
Let us know your favorite Back to the Future fact. Or maybe which gadget you wish was real. I'm still holding out for a working hoverboard.
Me too. Or maybe the self-drying jacket. That'd be handy.
Definitely. For Retro Celeb Talk, thanks for listening, and we'll catch you next time when we jump back into another piece of cinema history.